July! It's July! Oh. I'm turning the air on because we're skipping this. 3 months have passed. Yep, this is the scene I'm thinking of. So let's get through all of this. In this case, the answer is... no! No, it's not that. I'm confused. All this time, I thought I was human. My ability to heal has been a little strange, perhaps, but I'd never thought that meant I wasn't even human. Or perhaps I just never allowed myself to think that. To try and hide my condition made me lonely enough. If I had allowed myself to believe I wasn't human, then it would have driven me even further away.
気持ちはわかるけど、もう時間がないの。それに目をそらしても、あなたが鬼だっていう事実は変えられないわ。
But none of this makes any sense. Not only am I a demon, but I'm the last survivor of some big demon clan? It's all just...
わからないか?
For a moment, she looks suddenly lonely.
でも、どうしても嫌だって言うなら、無理強いはできないわよね。
I'm sorry, it's not that I don't trust you or anything, son. Could you just give me some time to think? I wanted to find my father and ask him if what she had told me was the truth. Maybe then I can accept the fact that I am a demon. But now we got some choices to make, and the first one is, we're gonna go find the others! Poor Shimada is gonna get thrown across the fucking courtyard, and I feel so bad for him. You don't even know anything. Harada is just here with the comebacks. I know we're not here for them, but we'll get to it, because Harada just has words. Fighting words. So what am I gonna do? Try to attack? Try to attack. Kazuma had a good hold on me from behind, but he hadn't bothered to restrain my arms. There was nothing I could do. I wouldn't dare to attack him. Or perhaps he thought that even if I did, he'd have no difficulty dealing with my attacks. I wasn't foolish enough to think I might actually beat him in a fight, but at least I could try and defend myself. I jerked out my sword. Yeah! I attacked Kazuma with all my might. However, Kazuma easily dodged my swing. His hand slid to my wrist and he twisted viciously. It was strong enough that I thought for a moment my bones would break. With a cry, my sword flew from my fingers. My aborted attack had distracted Kazuma for only a split second, but that was all the time Hijikata-san needed. Within the space of a breath, he closed the distance between himself and my captor, the tip of his blade leaping towards Kazuma's throat. Almost too quickly to see, he leaned out of the way. Hijikata-san's blade hissed through the air, centimeters from his neck. A lesser man or a human would have been dead. And so, for a moment, Kazuma's demon strength and reflexes were focused on the sword at his throat. The movement was enough for me to break free. He gripped my arm and my body was jerked into him. Hijikata-san. I felt a gentle, powerful arm curl around my body, catching and sheltering me at the same time. I know. I'm sorry.
だが今の起点は悪くなかったぜ。
What?
あいつに隙ができたのはお前のおかげだ。よくやったな。
Prayers of Hijikata-san was not something I was accustomed to. I opened my mouth to say. I wasn't sure what when.
土方とやら、その薄汚い手を離せ。
Kazuma's pissed because somebody touched his woman.
その女は俺のものだ。人間ごときに渡すわけにはいかん。
Kazuma had recovered quickly from the attack, and his eyes smoldered with cold fury.
悪いが渡してやるわけにはいかねえな。こいつは今新選組が預かってるんだ。人のものに手を出すんじゃねえ。
I felt his grip on me tighten as he spoke.
雪村、俺と共に来い。お前は誇り高き鬼の一族なのだぞ。そのような汚らわしい生き物どものもとに身を置くべきではない。
The image of Shimada being relentlessly thrown against the wall flashed before me. Even if I was part of a demon clan like he was. No! I'll never join you! I'm staying here! Now please, please leave!
人間ごときに情を移すか。
こりゃいいや。風間が女に振られるところを見物できるなんてよ。いいもの見させてもらったぜ。
黙れ知らぬい。
Oh no. Hijikata was having trouble with Kazuma alone. Now we also have Shiranui to deal with. Just then.
お待たせしてしまい申し訳ありません、土方君。これから彼らの相手は我々羅刹隊が務めさせていただきます。
そんなんさ。
そちらの彼ですが、先ほど面白いことを言っていましたね。我々のことをまがいものの鬼だとかなんとか。ちょうどいい機会です。この力の進化をその身でとくと味わっていただくことにしましょうか。
Sana-san's hair was stark white, and his eyes were red. He led the Fury Crypts towards Kazuma and his men.
あなたのようですね。どうしますか、風間。
決まってんだろ。まがいものごとき何人いようが俺たちの敵じゃねえ。片っ端からやっちまおうぜ。いずれ掃除しなきゃならねえんだしな。
我が刀をまがいものごときの血で怪我してやることもある。
おい風間、
この場は引いてやる。だが諦めたわけではない。その女鬼は必ず手に入れてやる。その時を楽しみに待っている。
待ちやがれ。
Hijikata-san tried to run after them. With no further deliberation, they leapt over the wall of the street and were gone.
どうします？追いますか？
やめておけ。今日の人間にあんたらの姿を見られるのはまずい。
承知しました。では今夜はここまでということで。
My body sagged with relief as the terrified energy of the last few minutes quickly ebbed away. Hijikata-san. Arigato.
礼には及ばねえ。こっちにはこっちの事情があってお前を守っただけだからな。お前はさっさと部屋に戻ってろ。
Hijikata son then ordered the warriors to check on for any casualties at the compound. His face was cold and hard, the face of the demon of the Shinsengumi. As the loss of his warmth left me, I shivered in the cold night air. And morning time. August 1867. 2 months have passed since the Shinsengumi moved their headquarters from the Nishihonwanji Temple to Fudodo Village. I'd finished cleaning and putting away the dishes from dinner, and I gave a small sigh.
雪村君、あとは私がやっておくから、君は先に休んでいたまえ。
But I'm fine. The amount of plates has become way less than normal. I stopped myself. I'm sorry,
いや、気にしないでくれ。大使が少なくなったのは本当だからね。斉藤君も東堂君もきっと伊藤さんの下で頑張っているはずだよ。我々も負けないよう努力しなくてはね。
I suppose.
さあ、部屋に戻りなさい。子供は夜更かしをしてはいけないよ。
I'm not a child anymore. But thank you. I'll take up on your offer. I bowed to him and I left the common room. However, I just couldn't bring myself to return to my room so soon. I instinctively began heading towards the dojo. At night, the dojo had always been the emptiest room, which meant it was also the quietest one. During the days of our previous headquarters, I would often see Heisuke and Saito training in and around the dojo. Obviously, since coming here, I was unable to see them train with their wooden swords. To make matters worse, Okuta had been feeling even more ill as of late, and it was a rare occurrence to see him train in the dojo as well. I knew that it couldn't be helped, but it was still saddening to never see people whom I'd become accustomed to seeing daily. Just then, I thought I heard something behind me, and I almost snapped my neck rushing to turn around. Someone here? As far as I knew, Nagakura and Hanada should have been drinking on their night out. Was someone breaking in? Suddenly, someone had come from behind me, hugging me with his arms and pinning me down. What? Ah! Who is this? I tried screaming, but whoever it was covered my mouth with his hand, so I couldn't call for help. What was going on? Oh, Lord. How could a burglar have broken into the Shinsengumi compounds?
声を出しなや。下手に騒がれて他の連中が駆けつけてくると面倒なことになるき。
This voice. After I stopped rustling and making sounds, he had loosened his grip. Sakamoto-san, what are you doing here?
ちっと訳ありでにゃ。探し物をしに来たがやけんど、ここずいぶん広いね。どこに何があるかさっぱりわからんぜよ。
What are you looking for?
近藤か土方を呼んできてくれるろうか。他の連中じゃ話にならんき。
The two of them are still out of the compounds, and they haven't returned yet. I told him everything I knew, and Sakamoto-san furrowed his brows out of clear frustration.
外出中か。俺としたことが今日は間が悪いね。
Why are you acting so recklessly? If other warriors would have found you, you would have been in so much trouble. Sakamoto-san was Whoops. Sakamoto-san was catching criticism lately for selling weapons to both the Satsuma and the Choshu. For the Shogun and Shinsengumi, his affiliation essentially branded him as an enemy. For him to physically come to the Shinsengumi compounds must mean that what he wanted to discuss was of the utmost importance.
探し物ちゅうだろ。新選組についての妙な噂を小耳に挟んだきよ。
Suspicious rumors? Sakamoto was locked in contemplation, but then he peeked up and answered.
どうせおまんは聞かされてないろ。羅刹とかいう化け物のことは。
What? How do you even know about them, Sakamoto-san? Upon seeing my reaction, Sakamoto-san looked at me with shock, but eventually he gathered himself.
なんぜおまんも知っちょったがかい。まあ、行動の娘なら聞かされちょってもおかしゅうないが。なら話が早い。あの羅刹いうがは一体何ながで答えや。
Sakamoto-san wasn't acting like his usual playful self, instead assuming an air of intimidation. What was going on here? How could Sakamoto-san have learned about the Furies?
女相手に手荒な真似はしとうない。素直に答えてくれ。
There's no way I could tell him. Even though it was Sakamoto-san, I couldn't reveal the truth about the Furies or the Water of Life. Wakaranai. I don't know anything. I couldn't take the pressure he had been putting on me under, so I tried to make a run for it.
待て!
He grabbed my shoulders to stop me. Just then,
やれやれ、我々も随分舐められたものですね。新選組屯所に入り込んだ患者の末路がどうなったか知らぬ君ではないと思いますが。
Sakamoto-san squinted upon hearing this voice as it interrupted us from the doorway. Before Sakamoto-san could assume his stance, Sanan-san had appeared, roughly grabbing my arm and pulling me towards him forcefully. He had adjusted his stance defensively, as if trying to protect me from Sakamoto-san. Sanan-san! I had called Sanan-san's name to stop him, but he was intently focused on Sakamoto-san, never breaking his gaze as he stared deeply into the intruder's eyes.
君は先ほど羅刹について知りたいと言っていましたね。そんなに知りたければ教えてあげますよ。身をもってね。
His smirk was filled with confidence. In an instant, the sound effect didn't go. His hair flashed and became a ghostly white, and his irises turned into a deep crimson. Sakamoto-san didn't even flinch, seemingly enthralled by what was unfolding before him.
雪村君、下がっていなさい。これから何があっても手出しはなりませんよ。
I wondered what Sanan-san was thinking. Was he going to...
下がっていなさいというのが聞こえないのですか?
He was raising his voice and I stepped back. Then Sanan-san raised both of his hands without holding anything in either hand.
どうぞ、どこからでもかかってきてください。
Sakamoto-san's expression looked dubious. He whipped out his western pistol from under his kimono, and he had pointed it towards Sanan-san. Then, please no! Before Sakamoto-san could pull the trigger, Sana-san kicked the floor beneath him and charged towards Sakamoto-san like a rabid wolf.
Nani?
Humans weren't capable of jumping with such power. To me, and maybe even Sakamoto-san, it was an awe-inspiring, if not frightening, display of power. Sakamoto-san shot his pistol as a reflex. Then, in the span of a moment, it looked as though Sana-san's shadow flickered in the darkness. Then, the dull thud of the bullet hitting the wall behind Sana-san was followed by the sight of smoke whispering from the fresh hole in the wall. Sana-san had seen, in the blink of an eye, the path of the bullet as it flew rapidly towards him, and he somehow was able to move out of its way. Sakamoto-san dipped with cold sweat. His face was frozen out of shock. Then, Sana-san grabbed Sakamoto-san's collar and he lifted him up with ease. I was hoping we would get a CG of this scene because holy shit, Sana! Sakamoto-san was writhing in pain above, but Sana-san didn't even lift his eyebrow in reaction. Sakamoto-san had managed to wiggle his way out of many difficult situations in Kyo. It wasn't an indication in the least bit of his prowess as a fighter, but right now, Sakamoto-san was being thrown around by Sana-san like a petulant child's ragdoll.
いかがです?知りたいことはあらかた理解できましたか?
God, this is a... I kinda sorta... I wish this scene was in Sun and Sun's route. I need to write it down, hold on. This scene should have been in both, except where them being unknown as Sakamoto was like a spy thing. That should have happened. This should have happened.
ああ、十分すぎるほどに、にゃ。おんしゃ、三男とか言うたか。俺の負けぎ。勘弁してくれ。
His face was grimacing from the pain, yet he still snuck in a smirk as if attempting to humor his way to be let go. San-san, on the other hand, showed as much expression as a no mask. No mask?
まだ我々のことを詳しく知りたいとお考えですか?
ああ、どうしても調べんといかんがよ。
新選組の秘密だからですか? そもそも羅刹の存在をどのようにして知ったのです?
それは近藤と土方が戻ってきてから話しちゃら。
Sakamoto-san was clearly at a disadvantage here. Depending on his choice of words, he could have been killed on the spot. But surprisingly, Sakamoto-san still possessed his usual ambivalent and cocksure attitude. It was as though he were completely confident that there was nothing he could say or do that would actually get him killed. Then seemingly out of nowhere.
三男君、こんなところでどうしたんだね。ん？君は？
てめえは坂本！ここへ何をしに来やがった？
Sana-san, who still looked completely stoic, answered.
我々について詳しく知りたいとのことですよ。せっかくのお客様です。丁重にもてなそうではありませんか。